Welcome, wandering travellers. I am your host, Recurring. And seeing as it is Easter this week, and I don't want to get turned into a bunny again, I thought I'd read you guys some stories and poems regarding the city. Meeting the Easter Bunny by Rowena Bennett, done in 1930. On Easter morn at early dawn, before the cocks are crowing, I met a bobtail bunny king and asked where he was going. "'Tis in the house and out the house, a tipsy-tipsy-toeing. 'Tis around the house and about the house, I am going. But what is that of every hue you carry in your basket? 'Tis eggs of gold and eggs of blue, I wonder that you ask it. 'Tis chocolate eggs and bonbon eggs and eggs of red and grey, for every child in every house on bunny Easter day." He perked his ears and winked his eye and twitched his little nose. He shook his tail, what tail he had, and stood up on his toes. "I must be gone before the sun, the east is growing grey. 'Tis almost time for bells to chime," so he hippity-hopped away. Now, this next story is by an unknown author, so if anyone has any information on it, please let us know. A man was driving along the highway when he saw the Easter rabbit hopping across the middle of the road. He swerved to avoid hitting the rabbit, but unfortunately the Easter bunny jumped in front of the car and struck by his car. The basket of eggs and candy the rabbit was carrying went flying all over the place. The driver, being a sensitive man, as well as an animal lover, pulled over to the side of the road and got out to see what had become of the rabbit carrying the basket. Much to his dismay, the colourful rabbit was dead. The driver felt so awful he began to cry. A woman driving down the highway saw the man crying on the side of the road and pulled over. She stepped out of her car and asked the man what was wrong. "I feel terrible," he explained. "I accidentally hit the Easter rabbit and killed it. Children will be so disappointed. What should I do?" The woman told the man not to worry. She knew what to do. She went to her car trunk and pulled out a spray can. She walked over to the dead, limp rabbit and sprayed the contents of the can onto the furry animal. Miraculously, the Easter rabbit came back to life, jumped up, picked up the spilled eggs and candy, waved its paw at the two humans, and hopped down the road. 50 yards away, the Easter rabbit stopped, turned round, and waved and hopped down the road. 50 yards further on, he turned again, waved and hopped another 50 yards. Again he waved. The man was astonished. He couldn't figure out what substance could be in the woman's spray can. He ran over to the woman and asked, "What is in your spray can? What did you spray on the Easter rabbit?" The woman turned the can around so the man could read its label. It said, "Hairspray restores life to dead hair, adds permanent wave." Hope you enjoyed that one, guys. Now, this next story may or may not be true. I'll have to leave this for you to decide. Arrest in Germany. Will and Guy have noticed that the police have arrested a large Easter bunny statue in Duisburg, Germany, after their homeowners reported a stalker staring into their window. The couple contacted authorities after seeing a figure with a striking face about 1.8 meters, or 6 feet, tall, peering into their house. They then described to the police that the offender was wearing a yellow shirt, blue check trousers, and a green backpack. When the police arrived on the scene to apprehend the stalker, they were faced with a 6-foot statue of the Easter bunny. One of the officers told us, We took him into custody, but he hasn't said much yet. The police believe the bunny was placed outside the couple's home as a practical joke, and will keep the bunny detained until his owners come to collect him. Well, mistaken identity or what there? Okay now, this next story is not an Easter one, but it definitely deserves to be here. The story is called Fools, done by Airy Rains. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Do I sit here? Oh, here, alright, yes. I'm ready. I just answer your questions. Okay, what, live? Oh! The lady gave a strained smile at the god before turning to the camera and giving a grin. Her black hair was up in a fantastic updo that swirled on top of her head. Her makeup was perfect and she was wearing a neat white blouse and blue skirt. Hello and welcome back to Talkin' to the Forgotten. I'm your host, Mrs. Interdevoid. The crowd cheered and clapped. When they quietened down, Void continued. Today we'll be talking to a forgotten calendar god. Introducing April, the old prank god. There were more cheers and clapping as the camera focused on the small god in the chair beside the host. Their hair was bright green and they were wearing a hot pink jeans splattered with paint and neon yellow shirt. April, tell me, what is it that you do? April smiled at the camera. Well, the only time I really do anything is on April 1st, you know? April Fool's Day? Of course. Now, how is it you've been forgotten? Everyone loves April Fools. Now April has a strained smile. Yes, I know. Apparently my pranks were too tame or too much. Care to give us an example? Well, back in the old days, I used to put out candles when people were working. Everyone thought it was hilarious, but then things got more advanced. Then the light bulb became a thing. It wasn't as funny when I'd take those. Apparently they're expensive or whatever. Well, that does seem quite tame. Give us an example of one that went too far. Well, once I caused traffic to keep everyone from work, and by the time they could drive, I popped all the tyres. That does seem a lot, Void laughed with the crowd. That doesn't explain why you're forgetting, though. What about that? Yeah, I got replaced. Replaced? Why, that's terrible. Who's your replacement? April scowled. March. March? Well, that doesn't make much sense. That's what I said. But the great calendar said I wasn't fit for the job, so they had to move me up to May. May? Well, that's a shame. Does anything fun happen in May? Sometimes Easter, April grumbled. But otherwise not much. I want April back. Well, that is definitely a shame. But we got a surprise for you all after the break. Cheery music played and the show cut to the commercials. Void sighed. I'm getting too old for this, she muttered as the makeup crew rushed onto the stage. April sat quietly in their chair. They had never been on television before, and they weren't sure if they were allowed to get up. They hadn't really wanted to do this, but Void had said it could give them a chance to get their job back. April doubted it, because March was such a good April, and he would never give them back their job. All right, Void said, waving a hand at the makeup crew. They scurried away. Live in 5, 4, 3, 2. Void grinned at the camera. Welcome back. We've been talking with the forgotten calendar god April. We have a special guest today. Introducing March. April's jaw dropped as March strolled onto the stage. He was a tall guy with short brown hair. He had on a green shirt and jeans. He always wore green. He was an attractive god, and April saw Void smiling at him flirtatiously. He sat in a chair beside April, flashing a blinding grin at Void. April scowled, crossing their arms. March, hello, Void said. How are you? She didn't ask how I am, April thought. I'm splendid, can I call you that? Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. He's charming as ever, April grumbled in her mind. It's no big deal, March. Now tell us, how do you like your job as April? I love it, quite honestly. I think I'm doing an amazing job. As much as I like March, April is so much fun. He's so annoying. Well, do you think you deserve the job? I mean, poor April, they got moved to May. Can we stop talking about this? I definitely deserve the job. April was too scared to really prank people, and when they did, it went too much. Are you telling me you aren't scared to get the job done? Of course not. I'm not scared of anything. I'd expect as much from you, Void laughed. April grumbled at the two under their breath, as they talked like they weren't there. Well, I think we definitely know who the better April is, Void laughed. Thank you two so much for coming. April gave a strained smile. Yeah. Of course, March says. April stands and turns to March before pinching his arm. March yelps. But, I'm wearing green! April rolled their eyes and walked off stage. March stood to follow them, but couldn't get up. What? Did someone prank me? He exclaimed. Void tried to get up too, but couldn't. They're both glued to their seats. April giggled at them from off the stage. Cut the cameras! Void called. We can't, one of the stage crew members said. Something's wrong. March managed to get up, though ripped the back of his pants. But when he got up, he hit a tripwire. A paint can fell on his head, and pink paint dripped down his shoulders. He yanked it off his head, revealing his soaked pink face and hair. April skipped on the stage and held out a box, smiling. Here, do you need a towel? March snapped the box and pried it open. Glitter shot out, covering him and sticking to the paint. Void, who was still stuck in her chair, looked terrified of being pranked. April walked over to Void and held out the hand. Need help? Void muttered under her breath and reached out to take the hand. As soon as she did, she shrieked. An electric buzzer? Seriously? She demanded, snatching her hand away. April laughed. I can't believe you fell for that. Security! Void shouted. 4 men in black police uniforms started to run on stage, but slipped and tumbled to the ground, knocking March over too. That made him hit another tripwire. April pulled an umbrella out from under the chair they were sitting in and opened it as paint rained down. Void, the security guards, and March were all soaked. Glitter came next and stuck to all the paint. April closed the umbrella and grinned. Have fun cleaning up, they said. Bye! And with that, they walked off the stage. Alright then, guys, I hope you enjoyed those little Easter tales and something for a little bit for Easter this year. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye, my shadows.